Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of My Car Guru, where I think you're going to find incredibly satisfying ways to keep your money in your pocket and not throw it at a car dealer or an independent repair shop or a body shop or whatever that, you shouldn't. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in certain different scenarios today. One is really kind of a sad repair scenario backed supposedly by an extended service contract that happens to not be backed by the manufacturer. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about an elderly father buying a new vehicle as a surprise on Daughter's Day for a young, relatively young, mid-40s. In my book, that's young. But yeah, he's buying a car for her. And then an octogenarian, you know what that is? That's an 80-year-old. Asking me, Lenny, what should we buy? And the process that I have to go through, really it's basically a 4-step questionnaire that I do. When somebody sits in one of my overly padded chairs in my office and says, hey, Lenny, I want a car, but I need you to tell me what to buy, or a car or a truck or an SUV. So I go through this little process. And maybe it will be helpful to you if you don't know what to buy, okay? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first, let's talk about this warranty situation. Well, there I go again. It's not a warranty unless it's backed by the manufacturer, and this is not a warranty, and it's an extended service contract. So she goes to a Ford dealer, not me, to a Ford dealer not too far from here, and buys what she's calling a warranty. It's an extended service contract. It's an agreement between you and an insurance company in this case that if you have a covered repair that needs to be done on your vehicle, then they'll pay for it subject to a $100 deductible. But there's a lot of nuance there. One of the things that folks, even if you buy a factory-backed extended service contract or an aftermarket extended service contract. If you buy it, you better maintain your vehicle according to the manufacturer's minimum requirements. Because if you don't, you are subject to a claim denial. And personally, I think that's reasonable. If you're supposed to have your oil changed, either when the light comes on and tells you to change your oil, or if you're disciplined and you get it done every 5,000 miles and get your tires rotated every time, like I recommend, then you keep those records, you will never have a problem getting a warranty claim covered unless it's just not listed as the things that are covered. They'll deny a claim if it's not on there, but it has to be on there. So if it is on there, then you will not have a problem if you've done all the recommended maintenance. Now, are they going to gig you if you don't replace your cabin air filter on time? No. That does not affect engine performance. But if you don't change your oil, if you don't change your coolant at the recommended time, and specifically if you don't get the work done at a certified shop where they write repair orders, you get copies of it, you stick it in your glove box or in a file, whatever. Just you have the records. You keep them. That's part of being responsible. And the reason you have to do this is because it's so doggone expensive to get things fixed. And you bought the extended service contract because you didn't want to have to pay for expensive repairs later, right? Well, just keep good records and you'll be good. So in this particular situation, she bought this service contract. It's an aftermarket company. It is not backed by Ford, and they are just putting her through the ringer big time. Her car has been sitting in our dealership, and I hate to admit it, for 5 weeks. And all of that time has been waiting for an adjuster. We are having to slowly disassemble this thing. Every time they say, well, we need to see this, and now we need to see this, we're having to disassemble a little bit more. And we want to get paid for all this work as well. And if this warranty falls through the cracks and doesn't pay this claim, this lady is in for a shock. She really is, because she owes us for all this work that we've done already. And then she's going to have to pay for a new engine as well. And it shouldn't be that way. I hope she has her maintenance records. It's a 2019 model vehicle, and I'm just hoping that she's been responsible. Most people aren't, and they don't keep records. But in this particular case, it's always a good idea, like I usually say on this program, because of resale. If you have detailed maintenance records, then if you're trying to sell your vehicle to somebody, they're going to be real happy to see those records, because that just indicates to them that you are a responsible person and you've taken care of this vehicle. So, I think you ought to keep any kind of warranty ROs or regular maintenance, that you're having to pay for, and especially all your oil changes. And it's even better if you write it down in a book. But I'll tell you, if it's just written down in a book and you don't have the actual repair orders, the warranty company could kick it because of that, because they don't trust you. How do they know that you just didn't make all that stuff up and write it all down with different colored pens last night? But I tell you what, if you get it done at a new car dealership and they keep records, and every time you go in there, you insist that they write a repair order, even when it's no problem found. You want a copy of the complaint, and you want it to say NPF, or no problem found, because you have a record that you were in there in case you ever have to have a lemon law situation or whatever. So these are just little things that you will learn from a real live new car dealer with a twist, and that's me. If you are uncertain or going through something like this and don't know what to do, just send me an email. Tell me the story. LennyLawson2020@gmail.com. That's how you get to the guru. Or you can send me a text, 423-552-2020, and I'll coach you through it, tell you what you need to do. But just, on the front end, do what you're supposed to do. Maintain your car. Maintain it according to the manufacturer's recommendations, and 99 times out of 100, you won't have a problem. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, so somebody comes into my office. They're octogenarians. That means they're 80. And they say, what should we buy? So, there's this process that I go through. I got to grab my process. It's right here beside me. And yes, there are 4 areas that have to be, evaluated. Number 1, physical. Why do they want a particular type of vehicle, and what attributes and features are important to them? Are you buying it because you need to haul 4x8 sheets of plywood? Well, that's going to indicate probably that you need a pickup truck that has at least 4 feet of space between the wheel wells in the bed. And, if you're going to be doing a lot of that, is a F-150 better than a Maverick? Yeah, it is. But is a Maverick designed to be able? Does it have the capability to handle a 4x8 sheet of plywood? Yes, it does, but it's just not as safe. And so these are things you have to diagnose. How many people are going to be riding in the car? Are you going to be traveling in it? Is fuel economy important? What are the features, benefits, attributes that this thing needs to have in order for you to love it and enjoy paying for it? When you write that check, that monthly payment check, that you don't feel regret. So that's important. Speaking of monthly payment checks, the financial side. How are you going to buy it? Are you a cash buyer, finance buyer, lease buyer? How much can you afford? How much are you willing to pay? How much should you pay for this car? Is it something that's not selling very well on dealer lots? If I'm trying to, buy a Jeep Grand Cherokee, I'm going to do a little research. I'm going to see how they're priced on Car Gurus. And I'm going to go on dealer lots, not on their lots, but, on their internet website, and I'm going to check around and see if they're discounting them, see what kind of prices are going on. I'm going to do some research. I'll just Google, how are Jeep Grand Cherokees selling, new ones? And you'll get an answer. AI will tell you, or, Google. Something will come up from some type of industry analyst that will tell you, no, these things are really stacking up on dealer lots. They're not turning. They're not selling. That's something you can go into the dealership and buy for invoice or below. Maybe the dealer give up half of their holdback. So it's important to know that. You don't want to go in there thinking, well, this thing's rare, man. These things are hard to find. No, they've got plenty of them. They're hidden around back. They want you to think that they're rare, but they're not. Okay, so that's the financial thing. Then the aesthetical. Yes, that is a word. I looked it up. Aesthetics. It's how things look. The appearance, the shape, the color. You know, it seems like most women these days like boxy vehicles. Why is that? You know, they've kind of gotten away from real swoopy lines and curves and stuff like that. They just like boxes. And that's what's selling. That's one of the reasons Broncos sell so well, and Bronco Sports and the Maverick and the F-150 even, because they're angular. You know, they're not rounded off. That's a big thing right now. You know, they've actually found that a lot of these angular shapes are more aerodynamic than curves. I would have never thought that. But yeah, the aesthetics. You got to make sure that, what are they looking for? I mean, do they want the color? Is that important? Because to most people it is. Very seldom will I get a customer in here that says, yeah, I don't care what color it is, just as long as it drives good. No, they want white or red or ginger moon dust, you know, some crazy color. Okay, and then you have the chronological issues, timing. What sequence of events are they looking for? You want to do it now? You want to do it today? You want to wait? You thinking about ordering something? Would that work to get exactly what you want? You know, I'm finding more and more people ordering vehicles now because they do want to get exactly what they want. During the pandemic, it just didn't work at all because we couldn't get hardly anything. Before that, it was typically 8 to 10 weeks to get a car in, unless you're buying something from overseas. And then, well, of course, you don't order Japanese cars. Did you know that? Japanese cars, Korean vehicles, anything that comes from Asia, and even if it's an Asian vehicle manufactured in the United States, you do not order those cars. You cannot order them. They don't give you that option. They will find one. They have limited equipment groups, and so it makes it easier for them. The domestic car makers have not figured that out yet. They give you too many options, and it creates almost a situation where you have to order the vehicle to get exactly the options that you want on it. Now, the Germans, especially like Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, you can still order those vehicles, BMW, but your options are somewhat limited unless you're talking about Porsche or Mercedes. And then, I mean, if you want a different colored stitching in your leather seats, like you want yellow stitching in your black leather seats, you can get it. It's just amazing how you can customize those things. It's crazy. For example, I wanted speed yellow on my new one that I have. Well, it's not new anymore. It's a 2024 model. And the paint, the standard paint is obviously no extra cost. They have only 5 colors. If you want to go to another set of colors, it's $1,300 upcharge. If I wanted speed yellow, it was $13,200 extra to get speed yellow. Guess what? My car is silver. I know it's boring, but it is pretty. Okay, so I take this seriously when somebody comes in. They just don't know what they want. Direct me. Sell me something. You know, it's a lot of pressure. So I don't just go out there and start walking around the lot with them. Now, I will nail down the kind of things that they're interested in, and I try to coach them a little bit, make sure they stay on the track, because they'll get out there in that lot or on the lot and they'll say, "Ooh, that's pretty." And it is nothing like what they were looking at or what they were talking about. And I'll say, "Okay, yeah, that's really pretty, but you know, it doesn't have the third row seat that you said was essential." "Well, yeah, but it's just, I love the wheels." You know how long that lasts? Not long. And they're coming back in 6 months and saying, "Why did I buy this? Why did you sell this to me?" Well, I tried to talk you out of it. So I don't like to go down that road. So we'll nail all those things down because I understand then what they really need to accomplish. And I can get them back on track. They want me to do that. They just won't admit it sometimes. "You're being awful bossy, Lenny." Well, I'm not really. I'm just kind of going by what you told me was important. on your list of must-haves. And so nail those down. And don't forget them. It's physical, financial, aesthetical, which is a word, and chronological. And if you will sit down and think about those 4 things before you go car shopping, I think it will help you make a better decision. It covers pretty much all the bases. Okay, so the other scenario. You've got more money than Jed Clampett. And remember him? Beverly Hillbillies. And Mr. Drysdale is saying, Jed, you need to spend some money. Why don't you buy Ellie Mae a really nice car? So Jed goes, okay, I'll go buy her a nice car. So they go car shopping. Ellie Mae has no clue what to buy, but Jed is being directed to go to the Rolls-Royce dealership. And so he's determined to buy her a Rolls-Royce because it's the best. Wee doggies. Remember him? And this is kind of what happens, because sometimes what you want to buy for your loved one is not what they need. It's not the best choice. So the scenario here at the dealership is a gentleman had plenty of funds, and he wanted to buy her what she had talked about wanting. And so still, we have to sit down with him and I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to help somebody make a good decision. Now, we get overridden a lot because with a lot of people, logic has nothing to do with the decision. It's an emotional thing because it is exciting to buy a car. Now, this particular customer was very positive, very appreciative, and knew what she wanted. And so he was helping her do that. And he was suggesting, well, maybe you want to drive an Explorer, maybe you want to drive this. No, she wanted a Bronco, and that's really what she locked in on, and she test drove it at our insistence, and then test drove another one. Wanted to see what the difference the tires made, because one of them had really big monster tires on it, and the other had normal highway tires. And so she just really didn't see that much difference between them as far as the ride and the comfort and getting in and out of it. So she really liked the way the bigger tires looked better. So that's what she ended up with. And actually ended up changing colors. She saw one in the showroom and said, oh, well, now wait a minute. That is me. When you can lock in on something like that and you've done the homework beforehand, then you're probably going to make a good decision. And then we came back and negotiated a deal, and everybody's happy. So I know there's probably a lot of people out there, grandparents, maybe even parents, that think they know what the kids or the nephew or whoever you may be buying a vehicle for. I've seen totally unrelated people get new vehicles for someone who just in need. We've seen that a lot. And you'd think that if somebody's going to pay for a vehicle, that you would just take whatever they point to. And in some cases, that's what they do. But still, you need to get what you want. You need to get something, not necessarily what you want, but what fits your lifestyle. Because what happens is, even with somebody who gets a free car, they can go sour on it after 6 months if it's the wrong vehicle. If it doesn't ride right, if it's too much wind noise, too much road noise, it's not comfortable. So you want to nail that down. You want to be appreciative for the gift, and I get it, but you also don't want to be trading 3 months from now and then have to come up with a bunch of money to pay difference. It's just not a good thing. Okay, I'll take my last break, and I'll be back here in just a minute. I can't cover every single scenario. Well, maybe I have. I've got 450 episodes on the podcast. If you go to Google Podcast or Amazon or Apple Podcast or whatever podcast, or Spotify, what's the other one? iHeart Radio. If you go to any of those and go to the search, you can just type in My Car Guru Podcast, and boom, 450 episodes. It's just unfathomable. That's not a word. I tried, though. Too many syllables. But I would highly recommend that you get a copy of the My Car Guru guidebook. It is a 32-page, it's not really a book, but but it's much more than a pamphlet. It's 32 pages long, and it has packed with information that will help you in your car life. Just text me your email address to 423-552-2020. And if you don't use email or cell phones, then just call the dealership at 423-639-5151 and tell the receptionist that you need a copy, a printed copy of the My Car Guru guidebook. I will run off copies for you, fold it up, stick it in an envelope, and you'll have it in printed form. They need your address so we can mail it to you. Well, it's been my pleasure to be with you, see, just like Chick-fil-A, and to give you the car advice that you didn't even know you needed. Well, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of My Car Guru.